Chief Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I too would like to rise to speak to the debate today. And I'd like to start by thanking the committee for their significant and hard work. This has been a really important process to us as a government, and I'm not going to enter into the cynical political rhetoric of some of those opposite, but what I will say is that this has always been a topic, and I've been around a lot longer than those who choose to throw stones at me, Madam Speaker, that we have always had a very consistent position on. And so we have always said that this is something that needs to be highly consulted on right across the Northern Territory, in as many remote communities as possible. It needs to be done respectfully and comprehensively and in a way that has integrity, that people can trust that process. That has always been something we have talked about, and this debate has come up many times during my more than a decade in this chamber, Madam Speaker. And so on coming to government, I made it very clear, because there were some loud calls right from the start about whether VAD would be coming through, and I made it very, very clear as part of our year of action, certainty and security, to not raise the expectation of our community and play politics with them on an issue that is deeply important to many and deeply hurtful and difficult to many as well. We made it very clear we had clear priorities. This was not an election commitment. This was not an election promise or anything even close to that. And we proceeded with the regulatory reform we have been doing across a range of areas, across crime, across the economy, across lifestyle. And huge, huge gains have been made and swathes of work done. It allowed us then to be able to get the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee to move into this consultation process. And we deliberately picked the LCAC so that it was a bipartisan committee of the Parliament with that legal mindset and framework to be able to go and do the consultation, go and test the veracity of the report that was done under Labor, and provide really clear guidelines. We asked the committee to come back with drafting instructions, which may or may not be unprecedented. It is certainly not common. And we did that very deliberately because we wanted the chamber, the Parliament, the Assembly, and in turn Territorians to have confidence in and engagement in the outcome. And from all of the contributions I've heard today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am confident that that is what has been achieved. And that is quite special. It is quite remarkable, because what we have is a very diverse group of representatives and political parties coming together to reach one consensus view around a way forward, which is very important for a government on an issue like this. And while some members opposite want to somehow compare this legislation to other legislation which was taken to a general election and relates to matters couldn't be further from this topic, is ridiculous. This is different and deserves to be treated differently, and we have seen that play out in parliaments around the country and on topics in this parliament, in fact, Madam Speaker, and certainly there are other debates I can reflect on and remember where this same type of process and careful respect has been afforded. And so what we have now is a very significant body of work, a very significant body of work. And because it has been done in the way it has been done, in the extensive way it has been done, it gives us as a government great confidence to move forward, which is why the Attorney-General is moving to the drafting process. And I pick up on some of the comments by others. This bill will be brought back to the Parliament this term. There is absolutely no doubt about that. The work is starting because we have a product we can work with. We have confidence in something that everyone can get behind. There would be nothing worse than to play on the emotions and the heartstrings and the hope and aspirations of our community to bring some botched up piece of legislation into this Parliament that does not have the consensus of Territorians or the room. And imagine if a party or an opposition leader was to bring a bill into the Parliament and it was to fail. We talk about sensitivity and the impact on people. Those are all impacts and considerations for a government. And so now we have confidence, we have something that has been pulled together by the diversest range of representatives from the diversest range of people of the Northern Territory. It provides a platform to be able to prepare the legislation to be modelled from. It gives us great confidence, and the member for Fong Lim, as chair, went through extensively each of the considerations and decision points that they reached, which gives anyone the opportunity to better understand it, certainly not just members of parliament, but members of the community. And then we've had the nice overlay of members of the committee adding their unique perspectives. So it is very well worked through and covered and comprehensive. And what I've heard from each and every one of them is that this isn't straightforward. So for the people who would like to see this rushed, and there's certainly been many calls in the government's direction to this needs to be done faster, this needs to be done quicker, what I'm hearing today is the exact opposite. And in fact, there is now a very clear understanding amongst members of parliament and in turn the community that this is not something to be rushed, that there is many and varied layers well beyond the actual substantive part of the rights of the terminally ill. For example, the member Fong Lim went through criminal provisions. I mean, most people would absolutely not turn their mind nor care about it, quite honestly, but that's our job. That's where we come in. We have to do these things. And so, yes, I appreciate the urgency for many, but there is a very, very legitimate process we have to go through. Everyone has talked very affectionately about palliative care, and I don't think anyone in this room has ever heard a bad word said about the team at palliative care. They are just amazing. And everyone has a very significant understanding of the work that needs to be done to support dignity at end of life across a range of deliverables and ways to deliver palliative care. And so again, that is a nuance. What we're hearing today is that palliative care requires a lot of work to be done to be able to proceed with VAD. And so these things are not isolated. They are not straightforward mechanics. This is not a mechanical process. The cultural considerations, the religious considerations, with the conscientious objections and all of those things, that has been very extensively considered well beyond what we've seen in the past. And so it is a very important body of work, and I commend everyone for being involved. What we've also heard then is that implementation post-bill takes a significant amount of time. And what I see is consensus in the Assembly, again, from all parties represented, that too is important. And so I certainly hope from my perspective that we continue to see this level of respectful debate and public commentary on these issues, because no one gains from inflating this into a political issue. It is now in train. We now have a roadmap we are all able to get behind. And so it's about making sure then that detailed work is done, that everyone is out in their communities, consulting with their communities. I note it's conscience votes for both Labor and CLP members. And so again, those processes are upon, that responsibility is upon MLAs to go and do that important work. And the result will be brought back into this chamber for that important analysis and obviously vote. And so I commend the committee. I thank everyone who has contributed, all of the Territorians who put forward their views, in no matter what manner or shape that was, it was important. And as the member for Fong Lim said, all of it was read, all of it was considered. I'd like to thank all of the obviously, there's a lot of work goes into this, well beyond the 5 members of the committee. There's the committee staff and all of the additional supports that have to wrap around with it. But this has been a very important process at the right time for a new government, and I'm not interested in the politicking on this. There is a process to go through on an issue that deserves and commands respect, and the CLP government is affording that respect by very virtue of the process that we are all in this chamber celebrating today.
Thank you, Chief Minister.